Welcome to Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Dr. RC will empower, encourage, and strengthen you. She will help you to soar to your highest potential while instilling hope. Please welcome the host of Dare to Soar, Dr. RC.
Hello, everyone. Oh, I am so excited. I have two wonderful guests this morning. I want to get started by giving an intro and a welcome. So, once again, hello, everyone, and welcome to Dare to Soar, the show where we elevate voices, expand perspectives, and explore the conversations shaping our communities and our passion. I am your host, Dr. RC, of course. And as always, I am so honored to create space where meaningful dialogue takes flight. Today's title, The Butterfly Effect. I want you to hold on to that. So get those notebooks ready as we go into this dialogue. Because you see, in this work that we do as social workers, educators, and leaders, we often don't see the full impact of our actions in real time. Yet, every decision and every interaction, every intentional moment of care and connection has the potential to create a ripple far beyond what we can imagine. And today, we're exploring what happens when those ripples are intentional, aligned, and rooted in purpose. I'm pleased to be joined by two wonderful guests who represent both the power of leadership and the impact of lived practice. Our first guest is Dr. Kevin Tan. He serves as an associate dean at the School of Social Work at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. He is nationally recognized He's a nationally recognized leader in school social work whose focus scholarship focuses on social emotional learning, transformative practice, and building authentic partnerships between universities and communities. Through his work with educators, school social workers, and community leaders across the country, Dr. Tan explores how small intentional actions can create powerful ripple effects in schools and beyond. He is deeply committed in cultivating belonging and advancing equity and empowering young people to see themselves as agents of change. We are also joined by Ms. Kelsi Walters, a dedicated school social worker who has worked closely alongside Dr. Tan, equity centered community engaged, and social emotional learning activities. Boy, isn't that exciting! I am so excited to have both of them. But also, Ms. Walters brings invaluable frontline experience, grounding big ideas in real, everyday realities of students, educators, and families. Her work reflects a deep commitment to student voice, belonging, and the creation of supportive environments where all young people can thrive. And she represents the next generation of practitioners, those who understand that even the smallest moments of care, connection, and intention can spark a butterfly effect that transforms individuals' lives and strengthens entire communities. Today's conversation is where vision meets action and where research meets reality, and where we are reminded that meaningful change does not happen in isolation. It happens when we are willing to work together across roles, across systems, and across perspectives. So today, I invite each and every one of you to listen with intention, to reflect of your own impact and consider the ripple you are creating in the spaces you serve. So with that being said, let's get started. Welcome, Dr. Tan, and welcome, Ms. Walters.
Hello, good morning. It's great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Good morning, and thank you for being here as well.
I am so excited for this conversation. The mere title, The Butterfly Effect, is just going to open so many eyes from the very perspectives that I shared in the opening. I'm going to ask this first question, and it's for the both of you. I know that we're going to have a commercial break probably in about 4 minutes or so, but I want to dive right in. And if we have to go to commercial, that's fine. We'll circle back around to it. So, Dr. Tan, I want to start with you leading off the question, and here it is. When you hear the phrase, the butterfly effect, how does it resonate within your perspective roles from the higher education perspective? to direct school-based practice. And the direct school-based practice, Ms. Walters, that part will be for me for you. So, Dr. Tan, that's why I shared that I want to begin with you from the higher ed perspective.
Sure. No, thank you. Thank you for the question. And I've been a professor for nearly 10 years now, and you can imagine I've taught and interacted with hundreds, if not thousands of students, by now. And I'm often reminding myself that every student who walks into my classroom is an opportunity to create a butterfly effect there. One small moment can ripple outwards in ways that they would do good in the communities, our profession, in the lives that we touch as social workers. I think this is, probably the first time I'm actually doing such a public session, alongside my former student, Kelsi, whom I'm incredibly proud with as well. And, I've also seen, Kelsi's journey as a student, from where she was in the classroom to what she's doing right now. And I think here it's important for us to always remember the smallest moments, the conversation, the kind gestures of care that has the potential to shape lives, relationship, and change systems. Kelsi, I wonder about your thoughts on that.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree. I've learned so much from working with Dr. Tan over the years, and even in my practice, I know that school social workers, what we do is really important. What we say, how we interact with students, and the conversations and the meaningful moments that we get to have with students, it's so impactful. Even whether it's a student or a parent or a teacher, we come in contact with people all throughout the day, and we can make meaningful change, even if we don't recognize it. What we say and what we do can make meaningful change.
Absolutely, absolutely. I thank you both for that conversation. Guys, tune in, grab your colleagues, grab your friends. Isn't it wonderful that we're having this conversation? And as I read in both of their bios, you have a perspective from both higher ed and the practitioner perspective, and two different generations, and meshing both of those perspectives together. And that's what we want, because we know it is a collaboration when we do this work, and those are key elements. And just think of the title that I shared with you, the butterfly effect. I want you to hold on to that. I promise you, I have so much more to bring from both of these minds. It is time for a commercial break. You know, I'm getting that signal. So go get some more coffee, that tea, or that cool glass of water, or if you like it warm. But we will be right back after this commercial break.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth, and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back. Yes, this is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC, the butterfly effect. Hold on to that. So many golden nuggets are going to be dropped during this hour. We have just gotten through the first question. Dr. Kevin Tan and Miss Kelsi Walters are my guests for this morning. I want to jump right back into our question. Dr. Tan, this question is for you. From a systems and leadership perspective, how do small decisions at the institutional level influence long-term outcomes?
Now, from a systems and leadership perspective, for me, it shows up in the relationships that we build with our students, letting them know that they matter beyond the classroom. And
Mhm.
more often than not, I think about, a former student whom I supported with, through a very difficult time. Years later, she invited me to her wedding, and I'll never forget that her mom seated me right next to her at the reception. And Dr. RC was really at that moment that I realized that, what may have felt to be small acts of support and care for
Mhm.
someone, that stayed with our students, that stayed with her in ways that I could never have expected. And I think this emerged a lot in the relationships, we cultivate with our students. Another student I previously worked with closely, she subsequently moved on to another state. And very recently, she sent me pictures, of her firstborn child. That
Wow.
made me really excited, right? Another student that I remember right now, she was juggling with a lot that she was going through at the moment she was in my class. I supported her in whatever ways possible. And then she showed up at a conference that I was speaking. She surprised me, and I surprised her that I still remembered her name after all these years. And seeing who she has become and what she has been building in her life, that made me incredibly proud. And
Oh,
to
yes.
me in higher education, that's the ripple effect, that's the butterfly effect. Our roles as educators and leaders, we don't just shape careers, we shape lives, families, and
Mhm.
future. So when I think about institutional decisions, it's not just about policies or programs. It's really about the culture, the relationships we cultivate, with people around us. One that values care and presence. And because we never know when those small intentional choices that we carry forward, it has long-lasting impacts over time.
Oh yes, yes. I would concur with that. I love that. And thank you for your transparency because those moments they mean so much and the impact that it has on those you work with also. I can only imagine the emotion that it carried for them as you were able to regurgitate that information back to them and their faces as well. Oh, what beautiful, beautiful stories. Guys, the butterfly effects. Didn't I tell you these nuggets were going to be so powerful? So powerful. Now let's shift to the next generation. Miss Walters, you are the next generation. That's why this is such a great connection for this topic. From your day to day work with students, how do you see small moments creating meaningful change?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many opportunities at schools to have those meaningful moments with students, whether it's learning social skills or working through issues at recess or lunch. We get to be there for students, we get to support them, and it's such a great opportunity for us. And there's opportunities all over. I'm thinking of one time I had a student who was visiting he was in the foster care system and he had moved to our school for just a short time. And to be a support for him, he just wanted to run around the gym. He just wanted somebody to be there, let him get his energy out. I would time him. He would try to get faster and faster. And it was just a great time where we got to be there for each other. And that's what he needed in that moment. And I don't know what ended up coming from him when he moved on to his next school, but I know that when he was at our school, he felt loved, he felt seen, and it was a great time to be with him. And the other students I get to see and have conversations with. I can hear them at lunch. They're talking to their friends about the exact things that we had been learning and working through. And that is the ripple effect. They get to share what they've learned and the love that they feel with their friends. And it's really great to see. Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes. You know,
Mhm.
oftentimes I feel like when we have moments like that, and I'm always sharing, even time when I have public speaking engagements, that it is so critical and important that we tell our own stories in this profession. Because although, we deal with legislators, congressmen, board members, all of these individuals, but if we don't tell stories just as you shared, no one will know about how critical the work we do. No one will know the importance of it. We can give numbers and data all day long, but it's stories like that that have the impact because those are the stories that change everyday lives. Because just think that time that you spent with that student, he will carry that on for a lifetime. He will remember that I remember when Miss Walters took the time to spend with me, it shifted something in me because just as you said, he was seen. You
Mhm.
you heard him. You took that time to be with him, to give him that space, to burn off that energy that allowed him to move through his day. So thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. And that was important. And that was key. That was definitely a key moment for him. I told you guys the butterfly effect, it is so powerful. It's about being seen. And I told you my two guests, dynamic voices, bridging research and practice together. That's what it's all about. What a dynamic duo these two are. Go get your friends. I'm telling you, tell your administrators about this segment because it is definitely powerful. I'm so serious about this. You know, I get excited about all my segments, but really, guys, no pun intended. This is critical work. Especially, this is a daunting time for social work, and I don't want to be a downer about it, but we have to advocate for moments just like this to bring light to what it is that our profession means and the impact that it has on our students, communities, and families. It is so critical. Dr. Tan, I want to shift back to you right now. And I'm looking, I know we're going to have to go to a commercial break, but I want to at least get this question. I'm going to get the question out, then I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to have a commercial break. So, as an associate dean, how do you intentionally design initiatives that translate from theory into real world application? And I'm going to get ahead of the commercial break because I know that we're going to have a commercial break. So I'm just going to say we're going to go to a commercial break, guys, and I'm going to ask the question to him again, but we're going to break now for a commercial break because I know it's coming in about a minute. So we're going to handle it like that because I know he's going to dive deep into this, and I don't want you all to miss anything. I don't want it to break. So that's what we're going to do.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. You know, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back once again, everyone. Yes, the butterfly effect. That is what we're talking about. And yes, you are tuned into the right place. I am Dr. RC, your host. And of course, this is Dare to Soar. Right before the break, I posed a question to Dr. Tan. As an associate dean, how do you intentionally design initiatives that translate from theory into real world application? I promise you I was going to ask that question again for those who are tuned in and who will listen to the playback. So Dr. Tam, please proceed with your response.
Now, Dr. RC, in my role as Associate Dean, I oversee community engagement and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at the School of Social Work. Now, at the heart of this work is really preparing our students to be change agents that is grounded in purpose and deeply connected to the communities that they will serve. It's about helping them to see that their work matters right where they are. And for me, translating theory into real world application, it means creating intentional spaces where learning doesn't just stay in a classroom. I bring students out in a community. One fine example, is an emphasis on teaching about local history and getting students to really understand about the histories of the communities they serve. I think it's really important that for our students, whenever they step into the community, wherever they work, engage with the lived experience and begin to understand the deeper social and historical and structural forces that are shaping the current communities and people's lives. And this is really critical. This is important. More often than not, in the public speaking that I do, I often push out a message that once you see the issues at hand, you cannot unsee it. When that happens, you begin to act differently. You act, you shift, you respond.
Mhm.
And the other message I put out to students is you don't need to be at the national level to be change agents.
Mhm.
You know, real change starts close to home. Real change takes place in our own backyard, in our own communities, wherever they land up, wherever we land up in our own communities. I think this is something that's really important, for students to really understand the relevance of the classroom learning, to the communities that they will serve.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yes. And I'm so happy that you shared that it doesn't necessarily happen at the national level. And I say that I'm just going to say this little bit because I really want to get to Ms. Walters with this, because expanding on that is the fact that when we talk about voting, and I have to throw this piece in there, when we speak about voting, we always impress upon our colleagues or anyone, because sometimes individuals are, and just not social workers, but individuals are so dismissive about local voting. But the foundation of it to get to the national level is those local voting, changing those processes and those laws and things that you need to happen. It starts at the groundwork. I just wanted to throw that out there just to tag on to what you said, Dr. Tan. So thank you for putting that out there. Thank you so much. Miss Walters, I want to shift back to you. What does it look like to take those broader equity centered frameworks and implement them within a school setting? I know that's a hot question right now.
Mhm.
Woo! With everything going on across the globe, don't want to put you in a hot seat, but we have to dig deep when we're talking about said certain subjects. So, with that being said, please go ahead.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's so many inequities around the world, around our communities, in our homes. There's so much that there's injustices everywhere. And there are so many different topics that we can get into. And one that I know is impacting my school is health equity. There is healthcare around. I know my aunt is a nurse and she says that she works with immigrant populations, and she says people come to our country knowing that this is the place where you can get good health care. But in our communities, in our backyards, it's not necessarily right there, accessible, affordable for these people. So I have students who need glasses or vaccines to come to school. These are necessary things that they need for learning and for academics and to be there and to learn. And this is a barrier for them. They don't have the accessibility. They might not have a ride there. They might not be able to have the funds to get what they need. And this is a barrier that they need to overcome. And it's hard. We need to be there to help them to get through these barriers, to get the things that they really need.
Oh gosh, you have said more than, and the only word that's coming to my brain right there, a mouthful. That's why and really, because that's why our advocacy in schools is so critical and important. And that's why, as school social workers, creating that safe space, giving that knowledge and that information, because we find ourselves in in hubs, if you will, that our faces, friendly faces, are the only connections that they have sharing this information. Because if not, our students are in fear of coming, in fear of communicating, giving, receiving that information, because they don't know where to turn. And is that fair to them? Because then they're missing out on education. And we don't want that. We don't want them to be in fear of receiving information. We don't want them in fear of receiving an education. And just like the connection, we bridge the gap. We bridge the gap. Hear us clearly. everyone, social workers within school systems and social workers overall. We are bridge builders, getting that information out, connecting the dots, helping,
Yeah.
providing that information. And that is key for our students. Just like I'm speaking to Ms. Walters, next generation. You notice I keep saying that because we have a next generation here, and she's not the only one. There are millions across the country. And that's why this butterfly effect, this conversation is so critical. Lasting change across systems, schools, and communities. That's why this conversation is so critical. We're connecting that. Here we have Dr. Tan, who is in the not only just the research, but in the collegiate arena, providing the information. And then Ms. Walters, who is at the frontline, practitioner, delivering that information after she has been in the school setting, getting that information, education, and delivering what she's learned. But if those dots are not connected and linked together, none of this work can be done. Just have to, I'm going to get off my high horse right there, because you guys know I'm a social. I can talk this language all day long. I'm passionate about it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. That's why I have these two wonderful, phenomenal individuals here that's talking this language. That's why it's key. So this question, I'm going to keep moving on. Butterfly effect, hold on to it, keep it in your brains, get those notebooks, flip those pages so you can go back to it a little later on. This question is for the both of you. How has your collaboration with one another strengthened the impact of your work? Dr. Tan, I'm going to ask you to start off with this question.
Well, I'm going to start off, by saying that Kelsi is, someone I'm incredibly proud of. I've seen her, grow and develop, to be who she is, right now. All right. And, just very briefly, Kelsi was in my classroom in the spring of 2022. I still remember on the very first day, I had just stepped into the room. It was first day of class. She was the first student to come out and introduce herself. And that moment stayed with me. Not long after, she expressed interest in getting more involved and asked for opportunities to work with me. And it was at that time I was in the early stages of revising the National School Social Practice Model. And what started as a small act, I got her to help to decorate a box to collect surveys at the conference. That grew into something much bigger. And over the years, Kelsey has been deeply involved in my work. She's key to the design of the model, the color scheme, and working with designer, designing the spinning wheel. There's a lot more that I can share about it, but, after we launched the model, when we launched the model in April 2025, all hands on deck, she was a leader there. She helped to design it. She organized the teams of students at my end, taking thousands of civil rights leaders posters, every single one of those posters laid across her dining table. And there was so much that was happening behind the scenes. Much that I'm the face of the model, I would say I would not be able to do this work without Kelsey. She is the person, behind it. She deserves to be seen and heard and acknowledged of her contributions there. So what I'm saying here, Kelsey, is really, that's your butterfly effect, to this national model work as well, right? Kelsey's constant kind and quiet support, they actually help to advance this work as well.
Wonderful. Now, Ms. Walters, before you respond, I'm going to provide you with that opportunity right after this commercial break. I'm receiving that signal, but I want to provide you that platform, that audience, to give your response as it deserves to be received. So, guys, we'll hold on. We'll be right back after this commercial break, and Ms. Walters will respond.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Yes, we have returned. Oh, I want to dive right back into the question that I asked right before the break. And it was, how has your collaboration with one another strengthened the impact of your work? Oh, and let me just say, yes, you're in the right place. This is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC. So Dr. Tan did respond, and I certainly want to provide Ms. Walters with the time that she deserves to respond to the question. So, Ms. Walters, please go ahead and provide your response.
Yeah, thanks. I look up to Dr. Chan in so many different ways. I've learned so much from him, and we've done a lot of work together. We've worked in local agencies of our community. We've worked with school districts and program administrators, and we've worked with state senators. We have done a lot of work, and working with him has really given me some footing and has helped me find my voice in my work. And it's given me the confidence to grow into who I am. And yeah, I look up to him in so many ways. I've been able to watch him in a professional setting, talking with these school districts and the higher up admin, and even with political leaders. I've been able to observe and help support him in that. And I've also been able to see his interactions with students when we have site visits coming to our campus, and we get to host those students in the local communities, and I get to watch him. He knows how to have fun. I get to watch him like host these kids and have fun and play games with them and jokes and introduce them to fun new things. And I love the spirit and the energy that he brings when he's talking with young people. And I get to use that in my work because I'm learning so much from him.
Outstanding. I love it. I love it. And I love the way you said about using your voice. That needs to be a PSA for our younger generation that are coming up, that are up and coming, because that is so key. I don't want them to ever be afraid to use their voice. So thank you for being transparent and sharing that. That is so wonderful in doing that.
Dr. RC,
Yes,
Dr. RC, could I add on something to what Kelsey has just shared,
absolutely.
thinking
Absolutely.
about what she just said as well. I think this is, important for us to also understand about the butterfly effect. You talk about the butterfly effects, about the interconnectedness of system as well. I think what is really meaningful, about, my relationship, my experience working with Kelsey as well. So more often than not, we talk about professors teaching students. But I think it's also a powerful reminder that students shape us too as professors,
Mhm.
right? And throughout this process, I've often been really encouraged and really supported by Kelsey's constant, kind, and quiet support. And to a certain extent, it reminded me to also look beyond issues of power and control in the work that we do as professors, right? And to really anchor on a deeper purpose of this work, right? And this really reminded me a lot, about Kelsey's quiet, supportive, kind gestures that, things that she don't say it loud, but it's really about reminding me, why am I doing this work? It is really, for the students, it's really for the communities, that we serve. And, Kelsey, I just want to acknowledge, that don't underestimate, the impact that you have had even on me, as a professor, and even for me as a person as well. I think it's really important to acknowledge this, the butterfly effect. It goes the other way around as well. So it goes both ways.
I love that. I think that I was just affected by having the butterfly effect. When you said that, Dr. Tan, I've not been your student, but I've worked alongside you in many different entities. But just as a professor aspect, it's always great to um, to have a professor share that with a student, because oftentimes, whether you're a professor or in different roles, it's important to have a reflective moment, such as that. It means a lot. It truly does. So guys, take note of these things, because even in training, as you do this work, it's important that exchange is important. It means a great deal, even in field placements, things of that nature. That is key and that's important because that talks about growth as well. I'm going to pause on that right now. Ms. Walters, this question is for you. Can you share an example of social emotional learning or equity centered initiative that created a notable ripple effect among students or even families?
Yeah, definitely. And we can do that as social workers. We can make those impacts that we there's so many different ways that we can do it. And one of the ways that I've been able to do that in my school is I was noticing some students were showing signs of food insecurity. So we brought food bags to our school, and I get to secretly put them in their backpacks every week. And they have these food bags that they get to take home for the weekend. And because at school they're getting breakfast and lunch, and at home maybe they don't have that over the weekend. So this is extra food for them. And it's really made a great impact in our school because we've been able to collaborate with families more. They know that there's people here who care about them and people who want to support them, and there's no judgment about it. There are students who know that there's somebody safe here at school that can help them get whatever resources that they need, and there's no judgment. There's no questions asked at all. I had a student who I had some extra ramen packets, and I told him, grab whatever you need. And he took probably a dozen packets. He just put them in his bag. And I was, in my mind, I was thinking, I don't know if you'll use all of these, but I hope that you do. But I didn't ask him any questions.
Yes.
I let him take what he needed, and there's nothing tied to it. And that could be the butterfly effect. Who knows? Maybe he's feeding not only himself, but siblings or parents, or helping support his family. And I wouldn't know. He just knows that there's somebody here who loves him and cares about him, and that's the butterfly effect. He can leave with this, and he knows that there's people who want to support him.
Oh, I just love that. Love that. Love that. I told you guys the nuggets that are being dropped. And this is information that you can take, use to grow, and use for later on. And even if you don't use the exact nuggets that are being dropped, you can formulate them in different ways for yourself as well that can help with growth for your students. On that note, it is time for another commercial break. I do have more to share with my two wonderful guests, Dr. Kevin Tan and Miss Kelsi Walters. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Yes, we're back again. It's me, Dr. RC. And of course, this is Dare to Soar. My guests for this morning, Dr. Kevin Tan and Miss Kelsi Walters. Our subject, I'm so glad that you were wondering. I see those question marks, the butterfly effect. That is it. So I want to dive right back in. Dr. Tan, please share, how do you ensure that equity and inclusion are not just institutional statements, but measurable and sustainable practices?
Now, Dr. RC, for me, equity and inclusion, as you rightly mentioned, it needs to move beyond just statements. It needs to
Mm,
go beyond just being performative, right? This is really important for it to be felt, experienced, and lived. And more often than not, in my role as associate dean and the work that I do, I'm always asking, what is the actual impact? And a big part of how I go about doing this work, it's about designing students' experiences. To a certain
mhm,
extent, how do we actually anchor on students' identity,
mhm,
who they are, their agency? Do they feel they have a voice to actually create change? How can I actually create that voice and the motivation for change? And the third important aspect, belonging.
mhm,
Ultimately, I want them to remember that it is where in the classroom, the relationship they had with me, that is where they learned to create change. And beyond that, it's also about accountability. We have to build structures that we can see and measure these experiences. This is through feedback, through partnerships, and ongoing reflection. That ultimately, at the end of it, we as professors, we are willing to adjust and listen, especially when we fall short. And I think sustainability is also important. For us to also
yes.
think about whatever we do beyond curriculum to community engagement to how we show up in relationships. How do we sustain and continue this work? Because at the end of the day, equity isn't just what we say, it's about
Yes.
how people should feel about it and be
Mhm.
motivated to create that change there. It's about the experiential elements, of doing this work there. And I think it's really important, whatever work that we do, anchor on, our social work students, their identity, who they are, their agency, what they hope to see change, and belonging. I think that's what it really matters.
I love that. Yes, thank you very much. Oh, which drives right into my next question, which is for the both of you. What roles does community engagement play in just ensuring that these efforts are cultural responses and impactful? And Dr. Tan, I'm going to start off with you, and then we're going to shift to Miss Walters.
Nice. I love this question. I think this is where Kelsey could probably reflect also about, her initial years starting off with me. One way that I show up in this work, as it relates to culturally responsive approaches, is through racial healing circles and dialogues.
Mm,
And
mm,
these are intentional spaces where we come together, all right, for us to actually reflect our own social identities, who we are, our lived experience, and to listen to those stories and how it shapes the way we see and we move throughout the world. And Kelsey has been a part of those racial healing dialogues and circles with me. And I'm always intentional about inviting students that work with me to come into these spaces, these
mhm.
safe and brave spaces to have the dialogue and the conversation. Because what I believe, learning doesn't just happen through content, through what I teach in a classroom. It goes beyond that. Learning actually comes through reflection, dialogue, and sometimes discomfort. And in these racial healing circles, students, they begin to understand themselves more deeply. And in turn, we become also more culturally responsive. We are more aware of our own cultural background and cultivate cultural humility in this process in how we engage with others. We listen differently, we show up differently. And to me, that is where the real impact is. Community engagement work, for us to create space, for us to listen, to understand ourselves in relation to others. I think this is what makes our work meaningful and what makes it sustainable.
Mm. Miss Walters.
Mhm. Yeah, yes, I was thinking the same thing. Those racial healing sessions are so impactful, just not only on the individual, but for the group and for our community as we go out into the community to have that cultural humility and to have looked into ourselves and looked into how we view things and how we feel and how we interact with other people. It taught me how to listen and how to um, really think about myself and the impact that I can have with people, and to have the humility to listen, and to know that I don't know everything, and to learn from the community and learn from other people from all different backgrounds. We all come with so much to share, so much rich history, and we can hear those voices from people. And that also made me think of some of the community work that we did with the school-based health center in our community. We were helping set up some of the initial groundwork for that, and we were able to hear voices from people in the community because our community has so many different backgrounds and every voice deserves to be heard. This school-based health center shouldn't just serve one population that wants to talk, it should serve everybody. And we went out and we collected surveys and we were in the community trying to grab those voices of people who maybe didn't want to say something, but we really wanted to hear their thoughts, or people who did have things to say. We wanted to make sure that we could serve everybody and everybody deserves to be heard.
I love that. The two voices together were beautiful because, guys, if you were listening, you heard a lot of hearing and learning because you have to learn to hear, you have to hear to learn. And the connection of the two, we can speak all day and talk all day, but if we're not putting the two together, nothing can be received. And you have to be open and willing to receive, to hear to learn, and learn to hear. It is going to be time for a commercial break, but I want to put this caveat out because this next question is going to be for Dr. Tan. Sometimes we have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable. And you're going to understand that as I prepare to ask him this next question. So, on that note, I'm going to get ahead of this commercial. So, the next question I'm going to ask is going to be for Dr. Tan. So, hold on to that, and you're going to know why I put that out there. So, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Well, welcome back once again, guys. Oh, this hour went by so quickly. But as I shared about uncomfortable, getting comfortable, and I'm just putting a pin in that, paraphrasing. The question I have for Dr. Tan: what does courageous leadership look like in higher education today, especially in advancing equity? And I know that's a hot question, but I did want to put that out there.
Now, Dr. RC, courageous leadership in higher education today, to me, it means recognizing that we carry responsibilities. As leaders, we carry responsibilities, not just in what we say, but in how we show up. Our students, our young ones actually watching, they are looking to us, not only as professors, but also as leaders, as examples of how we do this work. And for me, that means being visible in this work. For me, it's about sharing my experiences, whether it's through my travels, my keynote addresses, or engaging difficult conversations across different spaces. I want students to see that this work doesn't just stay within the walls of the classroom, but it extends beyond that into the communities, into systems, and creating real world change. And to me, courageous leadership, it also means being willing to stand in tension, to advance equity even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's not popular, even when there's risk involved. And to me, it's really about modeling for our students what it means to lead with purpose and with integrity. It's not just only to talk about equity, but it's also really to practice in the spaces that we occupy. And to me, courageous leadership isn't just about position. It's about me setting the examples for our students, for the younger generation, on how we do this work.
I love that. I love that. I said that I wasn't going to add into, but I just, if I'm asking Dr. Tan this, Miss Walters, I want to ask you, what would you add on to that being from a practitioner role? I just have to, because we're bringing two together, and would be remiss if I didn't um, ask you to add on to that also from a practitioner's role.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, my mom always says, being brave is when you're scared, but you do it anyway. And that's what courageous means to me too. When you are nervous, you realize what you're doing carries weight, but you do it anyway. And I joined the social work profession because I wanted to be a voice for those who are often overlooked. And I'm finding my voice and I'm finding that it's powerful. And my words, they carry weight. And every social worker has that power. Every social worker has that voice to do that and to be a voice for those around us and to be a voice for those who are often overlooked. So I'm looking back to my reason for why I'm doing this, and it gives me purpose. It reminds me why I'm doing it. It gives me reason for what I'm doing. And we've all decided what we want to do and how we want to do it. We've seen an injustice or a need or a gap that needs to be filled. And that's why we stepped into this courageous work. And that's what moves us forward.
I love that. I love that. My last question for the two of you: if every listener could take one intentional action this week to create a positive ripple, what would you want that to be? And whoever wants to go first, Dr. Tan or Miss Walters, who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm thinking to do that, to be intentional, to know what you're doing and to see what you're doing and realize that it carries weight. I think being intentional, it matters. And being intentional is where we can share kindness, we can share love, and we can make sure that those people around us, those students, those families, those parents, that they're seen and they feel loved and they can feel our kindness and our care.
Thank you.
I will add on to what Kelsey has just said as well. She alluded to this notion about understanding our why. Start with the why. Be grounded in the why, of the work that we do. For me, this is something that's deeply personal. More often than I also talk about the impact my mom have had on my life. Especially when I left home to pursue my studies here in the United States, my mom told me, Kevin, as long as I'm alive, you will always have a room to come back. You will always have the home here for you. And she even reminded me constantly, if you're not happy, you can always return home. And this gave me really a sense of security, a foundation that reminded me that I can take risks, I can step into difficult spaces, do this with courage because I know if anything happens, there's always a safe space, a place that is always welcoming back as well. I think this ties back to, the butterfly effect as well. So you never know the small impact people may have, on our life. So adding on to it, call someone, tell someone who has created an impact in your life. All right, let them know that you impacted me, you helped me a lot. I think that's something intentional we could do.
Thank you very much. So, as we close out today, this conversation knows about one thing that is abundantly clear. The butterfly effect is not just a concept, it's about collaboration. It's a connection between vision and action, between leadership and lived experience, between what is taught and what is carried every single day. Dr. Tan, Ms. Walters, thank you both for showing up. Together, you have shown us through transformation that it just not does not happen in isolation. To our listeners, thank you, and never underestimate your role in the ripple. Whether you're leading from an office, a school, community, your presence matters, your voice matters, and your actions matter. Everyone, until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. And always remember to never, ever be afraid to elevate to new heights as you spread your wings and dare to soar.
This has been Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Come take a ride and soar to your highest level possible each week on Dr. RC's Dare to Soar.